What's going on YouTube? Vampyr Gaming here. Today we're going to be making a tier list for OP-07, the upcoming format, with the set releasing June 26th, I believe. So let's go ahead and dive in. Maybe it's the 28th. It's one of those. But so first up we have Odin. I'm going to put Odin at tier 2 just because I think he gets slightly worse with RP Law, but this card leader is definitely slept on. Hannibal, I want to have fun at locals. I'll also try to do my best to go through everything super quick that's not super relevant, but talk on the things that I think are relatively worth noting. And then, of course, the key meta makers and why I think so. But so, like, like Iceberg, things like that, I'll try to skip through briefly. However, if you could do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now and we'll continue on. Oh, not so you hit it. Oh, here we go. Thanks. I'm gonna put Kyros. I'm gonna put Kyros at I want to have fun today. I actually really like this leader. I think the problem is just every other deck does it slightly better. This card really benefited off of Great Eruption, so I'm gonna put him here. Zoro, I'm also going to put in tier 2. I think Zoro has the potential to always show up. He's almost like Newgate. Like, there are just times where you can just play Zoro and Zoro can see success. I think there's also people who are really good with the deck. I think the biggest thing is a lot of people commit time to the meta decks when other decks have the opportunity to shine, kind of like I did with Ace through OP-03, OP-04, and OP-05. Not really OP-05, but I think there's still like that opportunity, and the decks can't see success. Law, I'm gonna put Law at tier 3. He's sadly just not good with all the removal. Luffy, fun at locals. Odin, fun at locals. Doflamingo, I'm gonna put at tier 2. I think Doflamingo is a very strong deck. I just played it at locals today, and without the Jinbei is a huge card because it allows you to play 2 cards, and when you're playing against things like RP Law or even Lucci and Gecko, they can usually only answer 1 body a turn. So if you have 2 and 1 sticks, you can start gaining momentum. And then, of course, Wedward Newgate, Wedward Weevil, whatever, lets you draw a card, which is absolutely absurd. Really strong. And he's a 6K, so you have to put him on having Gordon if they want to remove that. Blurple Kaido, fun at locals. Blurple Croc, fun at locals. King, fun at locals. Newgate, I'm going to stick Newgate in the tier 2 here as well. I think with the right pilot, he can still see success because RP Law does have the Dawn management issue still, in which they aren't able to swing super effectively into this. And then, of course, Ace being the downfall. So I think if you play... Newgate, you could see some success. Garp, fun at locals. Kinemon, fun at locals. Sanji. Blue-green Sanji. I always have optimism for him. I was a huge fan of this, but I'm going to put him at fun at locals. Ivankov. I'm going to put it at tier 2. I'm going to put it at tier 2 because I think this deck has a lot of potential. The deck overall can feel very strong and just powerful. If you can go draw 4, I mean, like, you dump your whole hand, you draw 4, that's huge. And then you're doing that with like 3 life and you're just countering out of attacks. And plus blue gets Boa, which is a very strong card. I'm gonna put Magellan tier 3 as well, just because I think purple is slightly underrated. You know what, same with what's his name, Zephyr. Smoker, fun at locals. Ace, see, here's my challenge with Ace. Ace is not good against decks that play Sabo. But Ace folds Red Purple Law's Laundry. Ace folds Red Purple Law's Laundry. Like, it's just like an auto win. For real. If you see Ace, you just auto win. Arguably. So this is interesting. Because like Lucci, if you can rush down and you can play the rushers. Dang. I'm going to put him at tier 3. I'm putting him at tier 3. I think he has potential. I almost want to say I'd put tier 2.5. Breaks my heart. I know, chat. I know. It's okay. Comment below. Should I build Ace for OP-07? I'm gonna release Ace for OP-07. Don't worry. And I'm gonna give it a shot. If I get top 8 before that, though, that'd be phenomenal. Because that's what I want to put my efforts to. I need that second chance. Kuro, I want to have fun. Arlong, I think Arlong's getting there. Nami, I'm gonna put Nami at tier 1. Why? Because you're really good at Nami, you're probably topping. RP Law kind of folds your laundry because it can bottom deck, but it's still just not as strong as Sakazuki, but they can also do a ton of pokes. So, like, the only downfall to Nami is RP Law, but I think it's really good into Gecko and Lucci. So I'll put her at tier 1, which you hate to see it, but I think that's the right call. But yeah, it does have trouble because RP Law, you play a card. If you're not getting it back, they're going to bottom deck it. It's just one more card that you have to draw. Iceberg, fun at locals. Let's see, Lucci. I'm going to put Lucci here. I'm going to put Lucci at 3 because, like, it's just worse other Lucci. But he does swing twice. He's like Eustace Lucci, but the minus from Lucci is really good. Black, Yellow, Big Bomb. I think someday this leader is underrated. I know Clyde had messed around with this leader at one point, so I believe in it. Katakuri, you hate to see it. I'm going to put it up here in tier 2. I think, sacking with Yellow will always be sacking with Yellow, unfortunately. 5 life trigger, I mean, you really just can't win. So I'm going to put it right there, but I think it does lose a little bit of steam compared to the other decks. Even with, of course, the bans, because you do get these new cards like Dragon, and they're starting to play Isho and things like that. VV, yep. Gurple, I'm going to put Gurple in tier 3. I think Gurple has potential. He's got the new event searcher. I don't think purple gets anything phenomenal besides, like, I mean, you do get the Foxy support, but I think it's one of those decks you can lose to at locals, and you're like, well, heck, that happened. Isho here. Rebecca, want to have fun at locals. Queen. I hate playing against Queen, truly. I've never had a good time playing against Queen. They also added Marco. I think the format gets slightly slower, except for RP Law. You do want to have a ton of bodies, and it answers bodies fairly well. I'm going to put it at tier 2. This might be wrong. This is probably like a tier 2.5, but I think, nobody's going to play it, but if you do, you might just lose to it. And then we've got Croc. This deck saw some success. I'm going to put it at tier 3. I think it's one of those that, like, can do okay. Then we got Sabo. I'm going to have to put him at fun at locals. Bello Betty. Bello Betty is also one of those high roll decks where, like, if they see 5 life triggers, 4 life trigger, you probably just lose. So, like, it has potential. Of course, you can play it to have fun at locals, but I think you can also see success with it if you manage your resources properly. I'm going to put her at fun at locals anyways. Rosinante, also fun at locals. So now we're kind of getting down to closer to, like, the more meat and potatoes of what's going to get interesting, the new leaders, things like that. So you went through a bunch of legacy. Sokka's banned, so you cannot. You cannot. Purple Luffy. I'm going to put Purple Luffy at tier 2. People started to see success with him. I was never a great Purple Luffy pilot. Probably could have used some coaching. That's on me. Thinking that I could just run purple. But did not do well at locals, but people were popping off with him. And so I respect it. But yeah, I think being able to ramp early, play these big bodies with less removal. Again, you don't have that Great Eruption, Absalom. You have to either hard cast Hino or Helmeppo or a combination of both to remove them. And so it uses a lot of resources. And then, of course, you've got Eustace, 9 Kaido, pops 4, so you're gonna pop one of Law's bodies. I think this has potential. I think you just play those big threats that Law just also can't answer, and then you can answer their board. I think this is tier 2. Enel, I'm gonna put Enel at tier 1. Enel gets very consistent, but I think Enel is the weakest deck in tier 1 because maybe I'm wrong. A lot of people seem to think NA has the best Enel players out there, because we had Enel just win an event recently, and a lot of people seem to think the deck is dead. But Enel did see some success, especially earlier, but as people learn to kind of play it, the big thing is, you need attacks on him, and RP Law does that very well. And then Lucci is very good at removing large bodies, because Kaku can KO 3, so you leader ability inherently -1, and then if you have stage, that's already 3. You play Hina, it's 6, any 9 gets KO'd. So Katakuri and Yamato already gone, with very little commitment on their side. So very strong. So I would say Lucci is probably the biggest weakness. Maybe RP Law, if you try to starve them. They do, of course, have Reiju, which, again, ban Reiju. Let me know in the comments if they should ban Reiju. I know a lot of Reiju players, like, the deck becomes unplayable. So true. But at the same time, you really can't do anything while he's here. So it is what it is. And then, so yeah, I think he's the weakest. But he does get the 10-drop Ace, and so you get to play Ace, Katakuri, and Yamato, and then pretty much consistency to get there. And then the Kingdom Come to remove anything, so decently strong. Lets you get to where you need to go, and then continually gain life, which pretty much makes him... So typically he takes 3 hits, so then it pretty much puts him on having 4 hits every turn in late game, plus being able to answer your body, so... Really strong. Red, purple, Uda. I want to have fun today. Hody. Having fun? Perona. So this is one of those decks. It kind of showed up earlier and then showed up later in OP-07 in Asia. So a lot of people started to play it with the 5-7, and then they would play Hiyori. You can play Hiyori, draw a card, play out that from your hand, so you could play it out early. And then on top of that, you could also play Ryuma, which KOs. So you can do that, draw a card, play Ryuma, and just kind of get that cycle going. But then you also get Otama, and you can play You Can Be My Samurai, and You Can Be My Samurai lets you draw 2 cards. So you can do like her, Otama, activate, draw 2, tribute, play, draw 1, and you can do a bunch of plus turns. So very strong. I'm gonna put her at the top of tier 2. So like if I had to put in order from like best to worst right now, I'd probably say Perona, Dolphy, Whitebeard, Luffy, Zoro. From like worst to best in tier 2 right now. I think it's like, again, like if there's a 1.5, I think Perona would be second and Enel would be first. Then you got Yamato. I'm gonna put Yamato at tier 2 because RP Law is a 4-life leader. You hit them once, they're already at 2. They can play blockers, but you have Hody. So I feel like it can be very strong against RP Law. Less strong against 5-life leaders, very strong against 4-life leaders. So Lucci and Gekko both playing a decent amount of blockers. And then they're also playing, so Yamato has 2 ways of playing. They can either big hand or they can play very slim, protecting their life and bodies. And so if they big hand, you can hit them with Isho. You can also hit them with Sabo. So a lot of different ways. I imagine they'd probably play slimmer just because of Isho and counter out more, because you do have to adjust your play style. But I think Yamato, again, one of those decks that shows up and you just lose to it because you're like, oh, I didn't practice this matchup. Reiju. So Reiju is good against anything but RP Law. It's crazy how a deck that isn't even yours plays your card better, but it is what it is. So yeah, Reiju, tier 3. I think it's really strong into Lucci and Gekko now that they do not have Great Eruption. However, slightly less, because Reiju typically has a big hand. Now they can get hit with Isho because people are typically playing Isho, and then Isho is going to help them out, and they don't have removal for him, and he's a 9, so even if they play what's his name? Ichiji, they can only swing like 7-on-7, so it's not great. But yeah, if they go second and they drop that, it's gonna do a lot. Because it's gonna take away a whole Reiju worth of value. Tier 1, Gecko. I think Gecko, and I could be wrong. But I feel like Gecko is not as strong as Lucci. The recursion is huge. I'm not going to downplay that, but Lucci's stage, just -2 to anything, is also very good. -2 to anything, and now Lucci is searchable. And on top of that, you get your own Great Eruption called Tempest Kick. Very strong. So I feel like he's the lesser strong black deck. Dragon. So I've been Dragon video coming soon, so make sure you're subscribed if that interests you. I have played a couple games against Dragon, and I'm not the greatest pilot of. I was testing out Lucci, our favorite furry. I'm not the greatest pilot at that now, because I've been testing, but I did test against Dragon, and while I won, I was like, there's a world where I might lose, because just the aggro that you can put on and the tempo that they can create puts a lot of pressure on you. So I think there's potential here. I'm going to say he's tier 2. I know he won a couple flagship events early on as well. I think it's one of those decks, kind of like how Ace was for me. If you don't know how to play against it, you can really be hurt, because you're being reactive to everything instead of proactive. So I think there's a lot of potential there. Bonnie. I think Bonnie is also tier 2. Very strong ability. You're able to rest one of anything, I believe. If you leave one Dawn up on your opponent's attack, you can rest anything. I think either Dawn or Leader or Character. I could be slightly mistaken. It could just be Characters or Leader. But a very strong card. Boa. I'm also going to put Boa in tier 2. I think people have seen success with Boa. I think it kind of depends on like matchups, things like that. But there is the new Boa card, which is very strong. I think it's Doflamingo and Boa. If you want to have fun playing the game, I think those are your go-to blue decks. If you just like counting, I think Nami's your go-to. Now, slow beam. Foxy. I'm going to build Foxy for sure. This might be a fun thing I dabble with at some point. Again, if I lock in a serial, if I lock in another serial, I'll commit to Foxy, see what I can do. But it's definitely just been like my chase. It's just that validation, doubling down. But I think Foxy has potential. For now, I'm going to put Foxy in tier 3. But I would argue at like a 2.5. Because it feels like there's a lot of really strong ramp cards. I think the biggest problem is counter. But I think this leader has potential. Because if you can get one of the 7 Foxies to stick, you could really be cooking. And then we've got Lucci. Lucci is tier 1 for sure. I would almost argue tier 0, but again, I'm still testing, so I'm not 100% sure if Lucci or Gecko is better. I think it also depends on your play style. Now we've got Vegapunk, the brand new leader in OP-07. I think he gets a lot better. I think he's a sleeper in OP-08. But in OP-07, I'm going to put him at tier 3. I think he kind of falls here with Foxy. The biggest thing is he starts with 2 life. You can stack one in there, but you're still like slightly behind, and you don't get that phenomenal amount of resources. And he's just a weaker Enel, in my opinion. Uda, we're going to go, I want to have fun today. Luffy. I'm going to put this at tier 3. I think this Luffy's actually sleeper, kind of. You know what? I think it's fun at locals. Because, again, it's like fun at locals, but I think you can lose this at locals. Luffy. I'm going to put him here, fun at locals. Kid. I'm going to put Kid at tier 3. I think this leader is just always kind of slept on, and Green gets some really cool cards, like the new Bonnie. So I think Green has some potential. I think it's one of those that, like, you're going to lose to it at locals type vibe. So I'm gonna put that there. Blue Croc. I'm gonna put here just because, again, Blue's got some really nice cards with like Boa and Jinbei. Of course, it's not being able to use Jinbei like as well because it costs resources, but I think they're pretty good. Purple Kaido. I'm going to put here, I think, you know, they get Black Mario later, which is phenomenal, but sadly RP Law abuses it. Shanks, fun at locals. Other Sakazuki, fun at locals. Yellow Bomb, fun at locals. This Luffy, fun at locals. Yamato, fun at locals. RP Law. I'm going to put RP Law at tier 0. He's definitely tier 0 next format. I think he's just the most consistently topping leader so far from what we've seen in Asia. So that's where I'm going to put him. And then, let's see. We've got black, purple, red, purple Luffy. I think red, purple Luffy is tier 2. I think, you know, this leader just got a top 8. I think it's one of those, you know, it is hard to swing efficiently on this leader. And so they really like, you know, if you play into curve, you get away with that. And it plays a bunch of top end and getting a second turn is usually the decider. Red, purple, I'll put that here. Tier 2, I'm going to put Uda at tier 2. I still think Uda is pretty strong, relatively speaking. I think, again, like the tier 2 are ones that can see success, but you have to be a master of your matchups and really have an optimized list. And a part of it is also just theorizing, because I don't know how these lists perform or what it might be, but I think that there's a chance. Blue, green, Sanji, fun at locals. Sabo, fun at locals. I'll put him at tier 3. I think his card's good. Blue, Ace. You know what? I'm going to put both of these right here in tier 2, actually. I think they both, like, Ace, if you high roll, can be very strong. Like, you know, you get Pilaf. I'm a stand that Tenkaido belongs in this deck, especially if you're playing the babies and you can get them to, like, 7k leader. They don't do a bunch of efficient swings, and you drop a Tenkaido. It can really run away. And then I'm also going to put Black Yellow Luffy in tier 0. I think the biggest thing is Black Yellow Luffy only loses to RP Law. I think that's a thing. And then these are really sure, because like these all play removal, but if you just see Sabos, you're cycling and you're a 9k leader. So I think there's a lot of potential here, but I think these two are the ones that I've seen the most overall. And Black Yellow Luffy is just a beast in this format. But as always, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know, what are your thoughts? What do you think is going to be the best deck of the format for OP-07 in the comments below? And let me know what you will be playing in the comments below. And if you're not already subscribed, if you could do me a favor, just hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a ton. Thanks.